Welcome to the Bag Maker's Workroom. I am Chris at Simply Classic, and today's Thursday, April 16th, 2026. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. We had some technical difficulties earlier with microphones and videos freezing, and so we have decided to go ahead and record this episode and put it up live either this evening or tomorrow. So this may be Friday that you're watching this, and we do apologize for those technical difficulties. Sometimes, technology just gets the best of us. So we appreciate your patience and we appreciate you joining us as we play the recording. So we do try to go live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't join us live, you can always watch the recording on YouTube at any time. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video or when we go live. So we were trying to say hi to some viewers in the chat, and I saw a few people pop up. Again, I really do appreciate you joining us and apologize for the technical difficulties. This will be the second evening in our new studio, and the first evening went fine, so we're not really sure what happened this time around, but we're doing some tests this week to hopefully avoid that problem next week. So today's a sewing episode, and here's what we have planned. We're going to start by going over what's new in the Simply Classic Scoop. Then I'll show you a fun hack for the Cianna Crossbody. We'll feature our customers' bags in Artistry Avenue, and finally we'll give away some patterns and do a Q&A at the end. So before we get started, please take a second to click the thumbs up button. It helps us, and even if you're watching the recording, give us a thumbs up. We really do appreciate it. So now it's time for the Simply Classic Scoop, and this is where I tell you what's new here at Simply Classic. So first, let's just take a quick look at the live stream topics over the next couple weeks. As always, we'll be live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and these are the topics we have planned. As you can see, we'll be talking a lot about different kinds of handles, and that's because we have a new pattern coming out on April 30th, and it's our first top handle bag. If you're a subscription box member, you've already received the new pattern in our spring box. I've seen some amazing photos already in the Facebook group, so take a look there if you want to get a sneak peek. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about handles, send an email to info@simplyclassic.net so we can answer them in future episodes. Next, I want to remind you about our April Sew Along. We'll be making the Zara live on Zoom with Shanova Mabry of That's Sew Nova. In the past, we have had anywhere from 10 to 25 people join us live. It's a lot of fun. Basically, for the first usually 15 to 20 minutes, we all talk about what hacks we're going to do and kind of go through talking to each person about their hacks. Some people do both, some people do one. It's all mixed together, and so I really am looking forward to see what you do. It's scheduled for Tuesday, April 28th from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also send out a recording to everyone who registers, so you can watch it at any time. The cost is $39.99, which includes a complimentary Zara pattern, and the registration page is down below for that link. So I also want to tell you about our retreat. I'm really looking forward to this retreat. I know a lot of you have heard about it. We're going to be having a retreat here in Thompson, Georgia. And in case you missed it, I'm hosting a bag making retreat from June 8th to 12th. We'll be making the talise using real leather, and we have a lot of fun activities planned throughout the week. Down in the description is where we have the link. It's to the It's So You website where you can get all of the details and sign up for the retreat. We also have a link to the agenda for the week, so you can see everything that we have planned. If you have any questions, feel free to call or email us. We're always happy to help. We also have more events happening this year. Next month we'll be in Rosemont, Illinois for the Fiber and Craft Festival. Then in August, I'm teaching at the SAC Bag and Sew Expo in Sacramento. And we also have some workshops coming up around the country. So make sure you check out the our events page on our website to see everything that we have coming up. The next update is a fun one. We have just restocked our faux leather mystery boxes and our strap handle grab bags, which I know a lot of you have these handle grab bags. You really love them. And you can see we stuff them. We put as much as we can in these handle grab bags. And the reason why we call them that is because all of these are the full width of the faux. So you can use them for straps, you can use them for accents. A lot of times, like even with a piece like this, you could pretty much use it as a pouch as well. So when we cut the bolts of faux leather, we inevitably end up with some pieces that are unusable and they're just short, but we can certainly sell them to you so you can get use out of them. We also have some faux mystery box. We might still have some in stock, and if we do, you can certainly grab that as well. I know those usually go pretty fast. So, you know, sometimes on the faux leather mystery boxes, there's a stain or there's some wrinkling on one end, or sometimes we even just make a mistake and we cut it an inch too short. And when that happens, then they're just not quite so perfect rolls. Each mystery box gets 6 rolls of not so perfect faux for $74.99. And like I said, I think we have a few left right now. They're very limited. So we want to let you also know this is something we're really excited about, and it's kind of in thought for Mother's Day. We decided to make a limited run of Simply Classic clutch kits in colors perfect for spring. And these are kits we've never offered before. They're going to be different from what we've done previously because they're going to arrive to you fully cut, interfaced, and ready to go. So we are going to do all of the hard work for you. All you're going to have to do is get the kit and go ahead and start stitching, which is the best part. So you'll make your own design-inspired quilted clutch out of Italian lambskin leather, and the entire project can be completed on a domestic machine. With Mother's Day right around the corner, these also make the perfect gifts. So you can see the kit colors that we're offering here. We have a barely pink, blush, cream, lavender, and sunshine. So each kit costs $109.99, and it includes the Italian lambskin leather, foam stabilizer, lining, the Classic Fuse woven interfacing, the zipper tape with zipper pulls, a signature scroll motif bag tag. Everything's going to be cut, everything's going to be fused, everything is going to be ready to go for you to be able to just sit and sew. So don't forget the Simply Classic clutch pattern if you don't already have it. You are going to have to grab that and of course your favorite thread. Most of you have the pattern, so we didn't want to include it and have to raise the kit price for that. So if you don't have it, just remember to grab one, and we want to see you get creative. So before we move on, we need to pick our giveaway winner from last week's episode. And just as a reminder, we give away a PDF pattern to one person watching live, when we're live, and one person who watches the replay. So we have the name of everyone here who entered, and I'm going to draw a winner. To enter, we ask you to share your first name and something in your stash that's almost too precious to use or too good to use. You've just been holding on to it and you don't want to cut into it or you don't want to use it and you're just, you know, oh, it's just a tough thing. So again, we have everyone here. We're going to go ahead and pick somebody. And our winner is Chantel. Chantel is Coffee, Hobby, and Me. And she said, I just can't get myself to cut the pink suede thrifted jacket purchased for a bag as the collar and cuffs and beyond repair, but the rest was amazing. So congratulations, Chantal, you have won a PDF pattern of your choice. Make sure that you email info@simplyclassic.net within the next 30 days to claim your prize. Just let us know what pattern you'd like and we'll go ahead and get it to you. Now, for everybody else, stick around because we're going to be doing actually 2 more giveaways at the end of the show. They're going to be, because we're having to record this episode, we won't have a live winner this week. Instead, we'll go ahead and pick 2 winners on next week. So now it's time to sew, and it's time for me to show you how I hack the Sienna pattern to remove the flap and lock and add a zipper closure. the crossbody strap was also adjusted. And you can see it here. We're going to look at it more closely in just a minute after we watch the video. So now let's go ahead and play the video and see how we did it. Okay, let's start out by talking about pattern changes. So I'm going to make the large version, and what I did was cut out a front and back piece, cut out two so that I could put it on the, wouldn't have to put it on the fold, you know, combined it here at the fold. And the front and back piece has a dotted line that indicates where the stabilizer goes. So I did a second one and went ahead and cut it out along the stabilizer lines. Okay, so essentially this fits right there where the stabilizer is. Now, when I cut out, for Simply Classic patterns, when you cut out your main pieces, you want to cut on the outside of the solid line, but when you cut your stabilizer, you want to cut on the inside of the dotted line, okay? So just a quick tip there. Now, before we make the pattern changes, these are the only two pieces that will have pattern changes. Let's go over a couple other things that we're going to need. And one of them is going to be all of the lining pieces. So I will, of course, want zipper pocket. I want slip pocket. So I'm going to use all of those pieces. I'm going to have my zipper pocket overlay, my key fob, and of course, strap connectors. I'm also going to have my crossbody strap. What I'm not going to use is any of the flap pieces. I'm also not going to use the upper lining piece. This is the one, of course, with the snap tabs. We're not using that. And I'm not going to use the lining piece either, because we're going to, once we make these pattern changes, use this main piece as both the lining and the main part of the bag. So let's start with this main part of the bag. What we want to do is, in order to get a zipper on the top of this, we're not going to be able to, these are pretty severe curves, and we're not going to be able to get it in this corner. So we need to take that out. So I have some scrap pieces of paper here. I'm just going to go ahead and slide this underneath. I'm going to line the paper up with the top of the pattern and the side and just tape it in place. And do that on both sides. So of course you're going to need some tape. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So now essentially, you know, we have a pretty square piece. I don't want it to stay square, but I've got to take these severe curves and edges out. Okay, from here, I am going to start at the top curved section, and I'm just going to draw a line down to this point where the side seam is. Now, if you want to use some sort of, you know, some sort of curve, you can certainly do that. I'm just going to kind of freehand it and connect the two. So I'm just going to kind of come around with this curve and then just come straight down here. Okay? Kind of make it curved slightly. So go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to tape the back down so it doesn't come apart. And then I want to repeat that on the other side. Now, I know I can't draw the same thing twice. That's just not me. So what I'm going to do is tape this other back down. I'm going to fold this in half, and I am going to repeat or just cut it out that same shape. So go ahead and fold this in half. Make sure that these stay nice clipped together. Go ahead and put a few clips on here. I don't want it to shift at all. And then I'm just going to cut out that same shape. Okay. So now you see I'm going to have kind of a domed shaped bag. It's not going to be exactly that, but it's going to be kind of close. So we need to repeat that same thing for our stabilizer. So go ahead and grab your stabilizer piece. I'm going to line up this piece of paper here. with the side and the top. And then I'm going to tape it in place, and we're going to repeat. Now, the stabilizer, you know, if the shape is slightly different than the main part of the bag, it's okay. Before I adhere my stabilizer to the main part of my bag, I'm going to do a little dry test, and I'm going to stick it on there and just make sure it looks about right. If I need to trim it all, I can certainly do that. If anything, you want your stabilizer to be slightly smaller than larger than it needs to be. Okay, fair enough. So I'm just going to do the same thing, start here, just do a curve up to this part, cut that out. Fold this in half. Get the backs down real good. And then cut that out. All right. So as I cut my pieces, I'm going to cut 2 stabilizer pieces, of course. Let me just kind of do a little, you know, that follows that pretty good. So I'm going to cut out 2 stabilizer pieces. Now my bottom stabilizer is not going to change. So you can go ahead and cut that just like the pattern says. Cut 2 stabilizer out of Decorative Light. I'm going to cut 2 main pieces with my main body, but I'm also going to cut 2 lining pieces with my main body. I'm not going to worry about cutting out the strap connector because I'm going to do a little bit different kind of strap connector. And then I'm going to cut out all of the lining pieces, pockets, etc. that I would like for the bag. And as soon as I do all that, we'll go over pattern pieces. So we have 2 main body pieces, and of course they look different than the Sienna because of the change we made here. I have some stabilizer on the back outside the seam allowances, and of course until we stitch that bottom seam together, we are not going to have any stabilizer here. So I have some heavy ready to go that I will stick on there as soon as I stitch that bottom seam. So again, I have 2 main body pieces. I also, of course, have a crossbody strap, and I'm going to actually use something a little bit different to make the strap adjustable. I'm going to use a rectangle ring on the back, and I'm going to use a buckle, a center bar buckle on the front. And so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it to make this an adjustable crossbody strap. No slide adjuster on that. We, of course, have our zipper overlay. We have our slip pocket accent piece. We have our key fob. And then I have my strap connector pieces. The pattern says to cut 2. I just cut 1 piece. I'm going to go ahead and stitch and then just cut it in half. And the size of this is exactly as what it says in the pattern, although I am going to put them on a little bit differently. We also have our 2 lining pieces, and the lining pieces are exactly the same as the main body. Of course, I have woven interfacing on the back. When we stitch this part together, the lining, we're going to take a little bit larger seam allowance because we're using the same piece for the main body and the lining. We don't want a baggy lining. So by taking a little bit larger seam allowance as we go down, it'll help take care of that. So again, 2 of these pieces. We have 2 zipper pocket pieces, of course, just like the pattern says, and we have 1 slip pocket piece, again, just like the pattern says. So I am going to, off camera, go ahead and make my slip pocket, make my zipper pocket, get that onto the lining pieces, but I'm not going to stitch the lining together. I'm going to stop there because we're going to construct this bag a little bit differently than what this Sienna pattern says. So I'll do that, and then we will come back. Okay, let's go over a couple of things that I've already done. I went ahead and did the zipper pocket on one of the lining pieces. I did leave the bottom of the zipper pocket open. Also, I did the key fob, and I put the slip pocket on the other lining piece. I also went ahead and did the crossbody strap and stitched it anyway. So because I'm going to be using a couple different pieces of hardware, on one end I left the strap just straight, and on the other end I used my English point punch. I'm going to go ahead and edge coat and base coat and edge coat that just a little bit later, but this is the part that's going to be in the front of the bag. So I'm going to set that aside for just a minute. And the first thing that we need to do is to put the strap connectors in the bag. Now I'm going to do hidden strap connectors. I've seen a lot of you do that with this bag. And I'm going to put one strap connector on one side, and it's going to go to the other strap connector on the other side. So it's going to be like opposite sides. But as we put them on opposite sides, for instance, one here and one here, when you flip this, they're both going to be on the same side. So I'm going to put them both on the left side. And we're going to do a little bit of measuring. So I'm going to measure over 3 inches from the side, because part of this piece is the side of the bag. And I want to make sure that the strap connector's in the front. So this is essentially going to fold like this, and that will be the side. And I want the strap connector to be on the front of the bag. When we added like this hump here, you can see it comes down, goes over. Essentially the side is here. So your typical side will end right here at this point, and we're going to measure in from that point straight across 3 inches. I'm going to line my ruler up with that point, and I'm going to go ahead and make a little dot right there. So now I'm going to want to come in 1 inch. So from that dot, I'm going to come in 1 inch, because my strap connector is 1 inch wide. So the dot I just made is going to be the outside point of it, and it's going to be 1 inch across. So I'm going to take the ruler again, kind of line this up, and draw a line that is 1 inch. And this is just going to make it a little easier for me to follow. And that's what we're going to cut. So I'm going to make the same marking on the other side. And now I'm going to use a craft knife and a ruler. I'm going to take it over to my cutting table to do that, because it's a little easier for me there, and just cut a slit right along each one of these lines. So I have a slit cut in each one now, and I'm going to take my strap connector and I'm going to insert it into the slot, pull it down about 1 inch in the back, and I want to make sure that the right side of the strap connector is against the right side of the bag, and that it's pointing up. Now I'm going to stitch on the strap connector itself right in between my top stitching lines. Okay, so now that's stitched on. I'm going to take my rectangle ring. Now the rectangle ring is going to go in the back. I'm going to take the rectangle ring, slip it on, and then slide the other slide of the strap connector through the slit. And you'd rather your slit be a little bit short than too long. I mean, you want this to be good and tight, so this is good. Because you can always cut it larger, but you can't cut it shorter. So you're going to pull it through so it's real tight. And then I'm going to flip the main part of the bag out of the way and just stitch these 2 pieces of strap connector together. It doesn't have to be close to the edge, just to kind of hold everything in place. Now these strap connectors cannot slip out. Okay, so from here, what I'm going to do is take the strap connector and push it down towards the bottom of the bag. You can do one of 2 things here. You can go ahead and top stitch right here, so right underneath the slit. If you don't want to use rivets, I would suggest you do 2 lines of top stitching, one at the very top at 1/8 of an inch and one at 1/4 of an inch. Or you can just put a rivet, or you can top stitch and rivet. I'm just going to do a rivet. I think it's going to give it a cleaner look. I mean, there's no right or wrong way here. So when I go to put the second one in, I'm going to actually insert the buckle. And I want to make sure the tongue of the buckle is going in the up position towards the top of the bag. So the first thing that I want to do is put a hole in the strap connector. You want to put it in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and put that hole in and put the strap connector in just like we did on the other side. Make sure your right sides are together. and you want to make sure that you don't come down so far that you're covering your hole. You want to give yourself enough space to stitch and still be able to get the tongue of the buckle in the hole. So you can kind of test it out, and then you'll slide, you know, the other side in and on the other side. But first, let's stitch this in. So it looks like everything's going to fit okay. So I'm probably going to be leaving about 1/2 inch between the hole and the top of the slip. I'm going to stitch again on the strap connector between my two top stitching lines. So now that that is done, I'm going to go ahead and put the tongue of the buckle through the hole and then feed the strap connector down into the keeper part and then through the slit. And this is going to be a little tricky. It's going to be a little tight. You might have to just work with it a little bit. You should be able to get that in there. Okay, once it's in, I'm going to pull it nice and tight, but I want to make sure that the buckle is going to close as well. So the tongue of the buckle will be able to go in the up position. Once I know we can do that, I'm going to go ahead and stitch these two pieces together. Just the strap connector. Move the bag out of the way and stitch. So from here, on both pieces, I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole and install a rivet, both here on this side and also here. Okay, so now that the rivets are installed, we can go ahead and put these two pieces right side together, and we're going to stitch the bottom seam only. And this part of the bag is exactly the way you do the Sienna, the way it's written. So from here, you're going to go ahead and open up the seam allowance, and we're going to top stitch the seam allowances down. Now the reason why we do this is because when we go to set our bag down, we don't want it to be topsy-turvy because the seam allowance isn't sitting nice and flat. So we're going to go ahead and top stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the seam on each side. So now that that's top stitched down, I'm going to take my piece of Decavol Heavy and I'm going to go to my iron and center it and adhere it to the bottom of this bag. Okay, you're going to need to cut 16 inches of zipper tape, and we're going to put this zipper in a little bit different than probably what you've seen in the past. We're not going to pull a pull-on. We're not going to do our ends at right angles, but what we are going to do is take the main part of our bag and find the center at the top edge. I'm going to do that on each side. And then we're going to find the center of the zipper, and you want to put just small snips in this. And then I'm going to place a little bit of 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the bag from here all the way across the top to the other side. Whenever I do this with zippers, I like to use 1/8 of an inch. And you are going to have to curve it just slightly. If you need to put a little notch in your double-sided tape, you can certainly do that. Then I'm going to repeat that on the other side, the other top edge. Okay, remove the backing from the tape. Place your zipper right side together on the bag, matching the centers. Now you're going to have to curve your zipper around this curve, so you are going to have to make tiny little snips in your zipper tape. So just make them small, just enough so that you can curve that right around. Okay, from here, take one of your lining pieces. Now, this is going to be my front because this is where the buckle is. So if you want one of your lining pieces to be in the front, for instance, if you prefer your slip pocket in the front, make sure you grab the right piece. And we're going to put a little bit more double-sided tape on here. We're going to put it on the lining, top of the lining pieces. We can do it exactly the same way we put it on the main part of the bag. Just curve it around the edge here. You see the zipper here wants to stand up. So you're just going to push it down as you put the lining up. And then let's go ahead and peel the backing off. Now I had already found the center of my lining when I put my zip pocket on, so I know where that is. So I'm going to match that up with the center of the top of my bag. Just go ahead and place it on. And of course, don't pull. Just go ahead and lay it down nice and easy. Don't pull your lining. And of course, if you need to throw a few wonder clips on here, you can do that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and rub my finger right across the teeth so I know exactly where it is. And you want to stitch this using about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Whenever I stitch, I always like to stitch from the back side of my zipper. I feel like I can get a better stitch that way. It's not quite as bumpy. And if you need to use a zipper foot here, you can. And I don't usually do that, so let's do that this time. Let me go ahead and switch my foot out, and we're going to change it out and use a zipper foot. And all you usually have to do is change out the bottom part of the presser foot, if you have a walking foot machine, of course. It's super easy and quick, and no reason not to do it. And then all I'm going to do from here is run the upper part of my foot right along the zipper tape. So we'll go ahead and stitch. Now you're going to need to make small snips in the curved area. Otherwise, the zipper is going to look wonky. It's not going to lay flat. So I like to actually cut little triangles out. You can use pinking shears if you have them. I've never really been able to get pinking shears to work very well. So I'm just going to cut these little triangles. And then you can certainly run a lighter right there over your zipper tape just to make sure that doesn't come apart. And a lot of times after I cut triangles, I still go ahead and trim this down some because you still have some height there, so it helps. But I always do the triangles first because I can usually get deeper with the triangles before I actually trim that seam down. So from here, you go ahead and flip this, and you can see how nice that zipper lays. So go ahead and take the zipper apart, and we're going to repeat that process on the other side. So now I have both sides stitched on. So what we're going to do is flip these back, and we're going to top stitch on the lining part only. Now, I know that that sounds a little strange, but we're not going to top stitch on the outside when we're done. So we're going to catch the seam allowance underneath. It's going to be a little tricky because you have a curve here, but just kind of do the best you can, but stitch just on the lining, catching that seam allowance underneath. And just take your time here. And I know this is a little hard to see, but you'll see how you have to kind of really get down in the valley here to get that done. You can see that the lining is top stitched, no top stitching showing on the front part of the bag. So we're going to repeat that on the other side. So now we have both of those lining sides top stitched. And from here, you want to go ahead and add your zipper pulls. Now I'm going to add 2 zipper pulls, one coming from one side, one coming from the other, so that they close towards the center. That is totally different, of course, than the Sienna pattern, since we don't even have a zipper on that, but I think it's going to be a good idea to have 2 zippers on this bag. So I'm going to go ahead and get those installed. So once the zipper pulls are installed, now we're going to go ahead and finish up the bag. Now when we do this, we're going to stitch 2 different sections. So we're going to do the main part of the bag first and then the lining second. We want to make sure that the zipper itself, the zipper teeth, are pointing towards the main part of the bag. And that's super important. We're not going to stitch over the zipper teeth at all. We're going to stitch right up to it, and then we're going to back stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and put some wonder clips on here, right along the side seam here, and go all the way up to the very top here where the zipper teeth are, going in the correct direction, and we're going to stitch right up to it. So what I'm going to do is start at the bottom of the bag, and I'm going to stitch up because I can get closer going forward than I can going backwards. Then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, start at the bottom and come all the way up to the top, making sure I do not stitch on the teeth. I don't want to touch the teeth, but I'm going to stitch right up to them. I'm going to switch my foot back out to my regular foot. It's going to help with feeding the bag through. Go ahead and stitch. And you're going to use the same seam allowance here that the Sienna pattern calls for. So now I'm approaching the teeth, and I'm just going to stitch right up to the teeth. Do a couple little hand stitches here to make sure I'm getting as close as I can, and then do a little back stitch. And then I'm going to repeat that same thing on the other side. So from here, I'm going to box the corners, but I am going to put some double-sided tape on this side seam allowance to hold it open. And of course, you've seen that before. I usually use 1/2 inch double-sided tape. Even though my seam allowance isn't quite a ½ inch, I still think it's going to hold a little better. So it's just a little stronger. So I'm going to lay that on and do it on both sides. Take the backing off the tape and open up those seam allowances. Once both side seams are taped down, we're going to go ahead and box these corners. And you just want to make sure that your side seam matches your bottom seam. And we're going to wonder clip that in place. Repeat on the other side. And then we'll go ahead and stitch these seams. And then I'm also going to trim the seam allowances back. Get rid of some of that bulk. Now, before we do any turning, we need to go ahead and finish up the lining. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke these curved part in and line up the side seams. Wonder clip them in place. And just like when we did the main part, we're going to start at the bottom and stitch up to the zipper. Do not stitch over the zipper teeth, but you can catch a little bit of the zipper tape in your seam because the zipper tape is pointing towards the lining. The teeth are pointing towards the main part of the bag. So you can see here that our zipper teeth are pointing towards the main part of the bag. And we're going to stitch all the way up as close as we can to those zipper teeth. So again, start at the bottom and stitch up towards the top and get as close as I can, even stitching on the tape slightly. And this is where you're going to want to start with the larger seam allowance and then come to the smaller seam allowance at the top so we can avoid that baggy lining. From here, you can cut these zippers back a little bit, but don't do much. You really want it to at least, leave about 1 inch worth of zipper out each side. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off here. Go ahead and burn the edge. And then the same thing here on the side. Leave it ½ inch to 1 inch, let's say. So from here, we can go ahead and turn the bag. Make sure your zippers open up nice and wide. And then, okay, of course, we're going to open up our zipper pocket. Pull the zipper pocket lining out. Now, I just didn't put my bag tag on, and I forgot my key fobs. So make sure you put your key fob when you stitch your lining, the side seams of your lining. So I'm not going to take it apart to do that, but I am going to put my bag tag on here. Okay, so I got my bag tag on, and now you're going to pull the lining out of the zipper pocket, and you're just going to finish this bag like you normally do. You've seen me do this a bunch of times, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch the bottom and then box the corners of the lining, push the lining back in, and then go ahead and stitch the bottom of the zipper pocket closed. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back and show you how to attach the handle. So here we have the bag completed. You see the zipper teeth are kind of disappearing into the side of the bag. Isn't that cool, isn't it? I really like the way that looks. So, of course, the inside, the lining looks amazing, nice and tight. And so from here, we, of course, want to put our handle on, our crossbody strap. So I'm going to take the side that's flat, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the side with the rectangle ring, slide it in front to back, and then fold it over the rectangle ring. And then from here, you can either stitch or put a rivet in. I'm going to put a rivet in. So I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole. Actually, I think I'm going to punch 2 holes this time. So I'm going to go ahead and have 2 rivets. So I'm going to punch a second hole, fold that over, mark through the holes where the other side needs to be punched. And then I'll punch the hole, the second set of holes here, and then install rivets. Okay, so you can see here I have 2 rivets installed, and now all I need to do on the front part of the strap is to punch some holes and feed that right through the buckle. So of course we want to punch several holes. You don't want to usually punch just 1 or 2. You normally want to do at least 5. I'm going to take my ruler here. This is the single rivet hole punch on the box corner ruler. I'm going to line it up. And I'm going to put it about, 2 inches away from the very edge of the strap. Okay, so I don't want to put the first hole right by the corner. I want to put it up some here. Okay, so a couple inches at least. And then just lay this down and go ahead and mark with a silver marking pen. And the nice thing about this ruler is that you've got lines going down each edge, so you can actually center your strap easily right along those holes, and then go ahead and mark them. And I want to place them 1.5 inches away from each other, which is the nice thing again about this ruler is you don't have to keep picking up the ruler and moving it. You can just go ahead and punch all the way up. So I was able to put 5 marks here. So I'll just go ahead and punch the holes. And I am going to use a little bit bigger hole punch here than I had originally. So go ahead and punch your holes. All right, and then just feed that strap through. It's a little tight, but that's okay. It's always better to be too tight than loosey-goosey. And then put the tongue of the buckle through one of the holes. Feed the bottom part of the strap through the keeper. And just like that, you have your strap connected. Look at how pretty that is. It's asymmetrical without being an asymmetric bag necessarily, but it kind of gives it an asymmetric feel. I really love the way that looks. And to kind of balance it out, I decided to put my bag tag on the other side. I think that balances that strap nicely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at this in the front camera. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed how I hacked that Sienna. You can see the bag here, and one of the things I really like about it is the way the zipper is done. Okay, something different. You saw in the video how I did that. And the zipper, first of all, the bag's not top stitched, which is really great if you don't have a cylinder arm machine. I actually just top stitched the lining and got the seam allowance underneath. You saw how I did that. And as a result, the zipper just kind of fades into the bag on both sides. Okay, it does that in both ends. Of course, I put 2 zipper pulls on here so you can actually open the bag with both zippers to each side. And then I really decided, I like this idea with the handle, the crossbody strap. I decided to make it adjustable with a buckle, a center bar buckle, instead of an adjustable strap, just something totally different. And I really like the kind of asymmetric feel it gives to the bag. As a kind of added thing, and I mentioned this in the video, of course I put my bag tag over here on this other side to kind of balance it out. So this is the large size that I did. Of course, you can do this in any size. And I hope that you take that sewing video and run with it, because all of you normally do amazing things with hacks. So I can't wait to see what you do. Make sure you post it in the Simply Classic Facebook group. And we are anxious to see. Can't wait to see what you come up with. You always inspire me and you inspire each other. So now it's time for Artistry Avenue, and this is where we choose 3 bags that were posted in the Simply Classic Bag Making community on Facebook. If we feature your bag, you can get a free PDF pattern of your choice. You have 30 days to email info@simplyclassic.net to let us know which pattern you would like. So let's take a look at this week's artists. So Helen made this small-sized Sienna with stunning gold hardware. She used a cream faux croc that really has a beautiful shine to it. This is, the gold hardware is amazing with this. I mean, it matches perfectly. I absolutely love this. Very spring, summery, and just absolutely gorgeous. Now, Debbie made this classic Sienna and the mustard faux croc, which is actually what the original pattern was done in when I did it. And she did it the same way that I had done, where she took the crocodile pattern and kind of divided it like right down the middle, okay, something a little bit different. And I got that from the inspiration for that was actually from the bag that I saw in Italy. That's the way they did it. And I thought it was very unique, and I wouldn't have done it normally myself that way, and I really wanted to make sure I copied that. I also love the bronze hardware with this mustard croc. You did an excellent job, Debbie. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then Denise made this Sienna. She used This is a medium, and she used our blue-gray geometric arrows in, it's a vinyl that we have. Love the bigger thumb lock. You know, she actually used a larger one there. This is really a gorgeous vinyl. It's really beautiful, and I love the colors of it. She did a great job. I like the way you have the arrows pointing, instead of up and down, have them point to the side. I think that's really great. So congratulations to all of our artists for sharing your amazing makes. Don't forget to email info@simplyclassic.net within the next 30 days to let us know which PDF pattern you'd like. So before we move on to our Q&A, let's talk about our giveaways. We're giving away 2 PDF patterns of your choice, and we're going to actually choose both from the replay. So on the replay, here's what you need to do is you're going to type your name and your favorite local sewing shop. It could be a shop near you or maybe somewhere you've traveled. You have until next Wednesday to enter, and we will randomly choose 2 winners on next week's episode. So let's take a look at our questions. Mary had asked, is there a method to determine the length of a gusset? And you know, it kind of depends on whether you've got rounded corners on your bag or whether you have square corners on your bag. You know, typically it is the width of the bag times the height, or the height times 2, essentially. But if you do have a curve, then you're going to take some away from that. And another thing that really is a variable is the actual measurement of your curve. So like for instance, if you have a 1-inch curve, you're not going to take away quite as much as you would on a 2-inch curve. So, you know, it can be a little tricky, but mostly it's the height times 2 plus the width, and then you just have to make adjustments for curves if you have that. Christine says, I love the water bottle separation on the Leah tote. Is there a way to add it to other bags? And absolutely, yes, there is. You first of all want to make sure, of course, that you have a bag wide enough to accommodate the water bottle. And then if you look at the instructions for the Leah tote, you see that one lining piece is wider than another. And just depending on whether you're doing the little Leah or the larger Leah is going to depend on how much you add. So of course the large Leah accommodates a 40-ounce water bottle, so you have a larger separator there, where the little Leah is more for a standard 16-ounce Aquafina or Desanti bottle. So you can take and apply those same measurements to any bag that you'd like, and then you can have a water bottle divider, and I think that's a great idea. Another thing I want to do is share an answer. Last week we had somebody ask a question about grommets. They said, if I cut a grommet hole too large, is there a way to fix it? And Eileen actually had a really great suggestion that I'd like to read to all of you because I think this is brilliant, something I had not thought of, and hopefully this helps. So she says, I have a suggestion for the person who is asking about how to fix a too large grommet hole. Yes, definitely hard to fix. However, it may be worth trying this. Sandwich a piece of leather, or maybe even 2 pieces of leather, or of course faux leather, between the 2 pieces of material. So of course, normally when you do a grommet, you typically put it on the outside of the bag, so you have your main part of your bag and you have your lining part, and she's saying sandwich it between those 2 pieces. And make sure the piece of leather is large enough to give the hole some extra stability. So you don't want to cut it the exact dimension of the hole. Obviously you want to cut it larger. And I would even cut it square. I don't think you have to cut it circular. So go ahead and glue that in, and after the glue is dried, zigzag around the original hole to give it more stability. Then punch your new smaller hole in the leather. If the original hole is larger than the grommet, it can be seen after installing it, possibly. Then what you could do is try gluing that extra piece of leather on the outside of the material instead of sandwiching it in between, and it can just be kind of an added decorative feature. And it could add, you know, think about if you have a round grommet, and let's say in this case you want to go ahead and cut a round piece you can put that right on top, zigzag around, then put your grommet right in, and I think that is absolutely brilliant. I think that's a great way to fix something like that. So thank you, Eileen. I really do appreciate you sharing that. It is excellent, excellent advice. And like I said, I learn from all of you and get inspired from all of you. So thank you for sharing. So thank you so much for your patience and for joining me for the Bag Makers Workroom this week. Hopefully next week will be better. We'll fix all of our technology issues. Make sure you join us next Thursday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for an episode about top handle bags. Don't forget to submit your Simply Classic makes by posting them in the Facebook group or emailing info@simplyclassic.net. And please remember to click that thumbs up button. We really do appreciate it. Until next week, everybody, happy sewing.